Wednesday went quietly. Too quietly. With the previous 3 days awash in drama, Sunday's triumphal entry, Monday's temple cleansing, and Tuesday's temple controversies, now Wednesday, April 1st, AD 33, comes like the calm before the storm. But out of sight, lurking in the shadows, evil is afoot. The church has long called this day Spy Wednesday, as the dark conspiracy against Jesus races forward, not just from enemies on the outside, but now with the traitor from within. It is this day when the key pieces come together in the plot for the greatest sin in all of history, the murder of the Son of God. Jesus wakes again just outside Jerusalem in Bethany, where he has been staying at the home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. His teaching again attracts a crowd in the temple, but now the Jewish leaders, silenced by Jesus the day before, will leave him be. Today, they will avoid public confrontation and instead connive in private. Caiaphas, the high priest, gathers to his private residence the chief priests and Pharisees, two competing groups typically at odds, but now working together in their ache to be rid of the Galilean. They scheme to kill him, but don't have all the pieces in place yet. They fear the approving masses, and they don't want to stir up the assembled hordes during Passover. So the initial plan is to wait until after the feast, unless some unforeseen opportunity emerges. Well, here enters the traitor. The gospel accounts point to the same precipitating event, the anointing at Bethany. Jesus was approached by a woman. We learn from John 12:3 that it was Mary, the sister of Martha. She took very expensive ointment and anointed Jesus with it. An objection comes from the disciples, and Judas says, "Why is this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" This was, after all, a very large sum, more than a year's wages for a soldier or a common laborer. It would have been enough money to finance a family for more than a year, and could have gone a long way for charity. But Jesus doesn't share Judas's miserliness. Here he finds extravagance in its rightful place. The kingdom Jesus brings resists mere utilitarian economics. He sees Mary's waste as a worshiping impulse that goes beyond the rational, calculated, efficient use of time and money. For Mary, Jesus is worth every shekel and more. The anointed himself says, "What she has done is a beautiful thing." Judas, on the other hand, is not so convinced. And contrary to appearances, the miser's protest betrays a heart of greed. Judas' concern becomes not because he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief. And having charge of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put in it. The traitor had long been on a trajectory of sin and hard-heartedness. But the last straw is this extravagant anointing. Here Satan finds a foothold in his heart, in his love of money. And what wickedness follows? Judas, angered about this waste of a year's wages, goes to the chief priests and becomes just the window of opportunity the conspirators are looking for. The spy will lead them to Jesus at the opportune time when the crowds have dispersed. And the greedy miser Judas will do it for only 30 pieces of silver, which Exodus 21:32 establishes as the price of the life of a slave. Why would God have it go down like this? If Jesus truly is being delivered up according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God, and his enemies are doing just as God's hand and plan had predestined to take place, Why design it like this, with one of his own disciples betraying him? Why add the insult of betrayal to the injury of the cross? Well, we find a clue when Jesus quotes Psalm 41:9. In forecasting Judas's defection, he says, "He who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me." King David knew the pain not just of being conspired against by his enemies, but betrayed by his friend. So now the son of David walks the same path in agony. Here Judas turns on him. Soon Peter will deny him, and then the remaining 10 will scatter. From the beginning of his public ministry, the disciples have been right by his side. They have learned from him, traveled with him, ministered with him, been his earthly companions, and even comforted him as he walked his otherwise lonely road to Jerusalem. But now, as Jesus' hour comes, this burden he must bear alone. The definitive work will be no team effort. The anointed must go forward unaccompanied, as even his friends betray him, deny him, and disperse. As one commentator put it, had the redemption of the world depended on the diligence of the disciples, or even their staying awake, it would never have been accomplished. As Jesus lifts loud cries and tears in the garden, the heartbreak of David is added to his near emotional breakdown. Even my close friend, in whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted his heel against me. Jesus is forsaken by his closest earthly associates, one of them even becoming a spy against him. But even this is not the bottom of his anguish. We'll see that the depth comes in the cry of anguish. My God, why have you forsaken me? But more remarkable than this depth of forsakenness is the height of love he will show. Greater love has no one than this, than that he lay down his life for his friends, even when they have forsaken him. And that's Wednesday, April 1st, AD 33.